right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another great webinar putting on here for the dual sleeve platen, the Easy Ultimate dual sleeve platen. Today, Roy is going to be showing you how this works. He's going to show you how to load it, how to set up the graphics in Garment Creator, and how to print on it. So I'm Jeff Morgenthaler. This is Roy.
I'm Roy Hughesman.
How you guys doing today? All right.
Good.
So I will be kind of sitting in the background reading questions. If you have questions, feel free to post those into the chat or into the Q&A. I'll insert those questions when they seem like there's a good spot for them, or we'll try to cover them at the end. And before we get started, Roy, I just wanted to point out, we have something new on our website. When people have questions, we get a lot of questions about how to do things. And we've added a tech support page on our website where you can enter all of your information and your question. Anytime you call into Equipment Zone and you have questions and you want a tech to call you, we fill out a tech ticket. And so this page is going to be a way to facilitate that a little bit quicker and faster for you and get a tech to call you back as soon as possible. So with that, again, questions, put them into the Q&A or into the chat. I'll be watching that, and I'll turn the time over to you, Roy.
All right. Well, we're here today to go over our dual sleeve platen. You can do sweatshirts, hoodies, regular t-shirt sleeves on this as well. The one thing to keep in mind when you do put this on here compared to some of the other platens is the profile is setting low, okay? So you're already going to be at a bigger distance from the head than you normally are with the positioning of the normal platen from Epson. Okay, so when you're dealing with one of these platens, you are going to be at a much higher position. So something to keep in mind when you're using this. So obviously setting your platen heights is going to be a little bit different. So you want to make sure you stay on top of that so you get the optimum quality on printing. We do have the templates now. If someone didn't get them and already has one of our units, thank you for purchasing it. But you can get a hold of our office or email us and we'll get you that template out so you can have everything aligned properly on there. So basically, I'm going to go ahead and start out with the proper process of pre-treating. So if you're doing a sleeve, whether it be on a t-shirt, okay, where I'm gonna pre-treat the side of my shirt, there's a couple things to consider as far as pre-treating. I would recommend pre-treating in advance a little bit, letting that pre-treat have a little bit of time to soak in. There's something else that we're, kind of collaborated on as far as when you're pressing this back seam right here, it could create a problem. And also if you're trying to get an image close to the seam down here on the sleeve, that there could be from the underside, the sleeve is going to create a little indentation or emboss the top layer of fabric, which is going to create an anomaly in the print. We don't want to have that. So we need to make sure that on the short sleeve, you can purchase a smaller platen to throw the sleeve over to press it separately. If you're going to be doing a lot of them, that might be the way to go. The other thing that we'll be looking at is possibly making some type of sleeve inserts. Okay, I just kind of put these together real quick for the hoodies to alleviate that problem. So we'll be getting with our office there to see if we can come up with some inserts that we can come up with, or, people can make their own. So what is going to happen?
Roy, quick question for you. You just cut those out of cardboard. It was kind of hard to see it.
Yes. Basically, that's all I did. Cut 2 of them out of cardboard. That
Yeah.
way my area I'm going to print on is going to be completely flat. Okay. So on this one, this sweatshirt here, you can see this shiny stripe down the sweatshirt. If I'm heating it on a heat press, I'm going to have a problem with that because that shiny area is going to print differently than the rest of the sweatshirt. So definitely want to keep that in mind. This one was already pressed just to kind of show you that. And then I'll show you how to manually do it. Now this particular hoodie right here, we pre-treated it in advance. So there is no shiny portion. So we're going to use the insert to just shove down into the sleeve to make sure I don't have that happen. I still want to make sure I'm aligning my back seam straight up in the front to the top of the seam here. So you want to align that as you get ready to press that. So I'm going to go ahead and stick this in. And I know, you know, we're kind of moving as quickly as we can, trying to get this to where the video isn't as long as it could be if we want to leave it a little slower. But I think at the end of the day, getting the right information out there is the way we need to approach this. So I want to make sure. So I'm kind of filling underneath here to where I have the seam behind my hand and I can kind of align it properly, okay? And then I can set that on my heat press, make sure my, I'll go ahead and bring the camera closer here. You can kind of see that. So I got my end of my sleeve here hanging off. I don't want to press that, okay? The only thing I want to do is press the main part of the sleeve. So if you have a shorter hoodie or shorter sleeve or something of that nature, you can let the shirt hang off the front of the platen or run the sleeve sideways diagonally if they're for a smaller garment for like youth size or something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and just protect the garment there. Now, ultimately, what I should have done, and this has already been dried naturally overnight, so we're going to go ahead and just do a short pressing here for probably about 35 seconds. Make sure all the moisture is out of there.
Roy, we have a question. What kind of pressure, how are you adjusting your heat press when you use that insert?
Basically, I'm running right now right at about a 3. A 2-3 is going to be sufficient. Okay, and I'm getting a nice even press on there. As you can see, there's no area that's real shiny where that seam was. Okay, and I can go ahead and pull that out. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the other side. I could have done them both at the same time, but for sake of trying to get all that done too quickly here, I don't want to kind of mess something up. So figured I'd just do them separate.
So somebody asked this question, Roy, can you use a mouse pad instead of cardboard? And I guess, you know, the shape and the size of the mouse pad would have something to do with that, but also you want something that's kind of rigid to get in there and make it easy to insert, right?
That's correct. On the long sleeve, I would say something rigid is going to be better. On the short sleeve shirt, that you're going to be doing, I think a mouse pad would be great to use.
Yeah, I think trying
Okay.
to feed a mouse pad into a long sleeve shirt.
You're going to need something rigid. Even a thin piece of wood would probably work well. So now I'm going to go ahead and go to the printer and set this up on the Platen. So basically, I went ahead and marked up my Platen here just to tell me, because hoodies, I'm going to double up that fabric, okay? On the T-shirts, I'm going to put them just single layer. So that's going to be a lot thinner. So I got to make sure I'm driving my Platen height up when I do that, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and just take these off real quick. Set them over to the side. And then I can go ahead and just pop my sweatshirt back here in the back. And then there is a clamp right here in the front. So I want to get my seam there underneath in the center. And then I'm going to allow for like about a 1 inch here in the front. And then I can push down on the clamp and just kind of tuck my fabric in there a little bit to hold it. And then kind of align my back end here. And go ahead and get this positioned and then just push it down. So I got a nice even positioning here. Okay. Yep.
While you're doing that, Roy, somebody asked this question again about the shiny issue. I just want to go over that one more time just to make sure that it's clear for everybody. So if you heat press a long sleeve without an insert, what you're going to get is you're going to get a stripe, a shiny stripe down it from the seam underneath the sleeve. So what Roy did was he cut out an insert to put into that sleeve,
which cardboard probably isn't going to be the best, but you can see
press it to avoid that shiny. See, there's
that stripe right there. See that stripe going down? And it's actually on my end. You might not be able to see it, but it actually is shiny, and it actually almost gives a look of the material melting. Right there. See, it almost looks like the material melted or something, but that's not the case. It's just concentrated pre-treat in that area because it squeezed it really tight. And that's going to print differently. So you want to keep that in mind when you're getting ready to use this.
So to avoid that, what he did was he created that insert, put it in the sleeve to pre-treat it and heat press it. And then when you heat press it, it's not heat pressing that seam underneath it. We have from Francis made a comment that they've made them out of Formica board available at Home Depot. And I think that's great because that Formica board is not going to warp over time.
I completely agree. That would probably be the best thing to use, is something of that nature. So once you get the two Platens there, I'm going to check my Platen height. Want to make sure my hoodie is completely tucked in so I don't have any issues going in and out of the machine. Right now I have my Platen height at 3. I'm going to go ahead and check that. Okay. Platen height error. So I just want to make sure that I don't have any areas that are sticking up. And it's actually the material here. Got to push my hoodie down a little bit more. There you go. You want to see if maybe I can even go up a little bit on here. I have this back area. Okay. Perfect. So I'm actually going from 3 to 2.5. Just double check. Just make sure. Want to be at the right platen height so I can get the highest quality of print. Still doing good there. I think that should be sufficient. And just to kind of give you on something that has a very bright, this was something I printed yesterday. So now on the lighter color, that little shiny area didn't really pop out. It does on a darker color, so I didn't use an insert on this one, just FYI. So now I'm going to go ahead and go to Garment Creator, and I'll show you how to set that up.
And Roy, as you get into Garment Creator, I guess you'll share with us the dimensions, the printable area there. We've had a few questions about that.
No problem. So here's our Platen template. Do a quick view on how to do that. So basically, you can go to your file, import, we'll send you the background, click on the background and open it up, and it'll pop in here. Once I do that, what I did was I have a line here, both vertical and horizontal, this red line, and that's center. It might look like it's a little off because of the photograph, but that is your center point for the image. So if I'm working on 2 items, I can use my other screen here, and this takes me over here to where I can do each individual item, either rotating them which way I want them to be, and sizing them independently as well. If they're the same image that I'm putting on either side, then that's fine too. But you can see how I'm basically lining them up there to kind of get them centered on the shirt, and then the distance from the shoulder, which is your rounded portion here, versus the end where the sleeve is, okay? So once I situate those, then it becomes one document with both of them. So if you wanted to save them for a future run, you may do so. So on the sweatshirts, typically, because they're more porous, I like to run basically 2 whites, running a level 6 to get the best print. Unidirectional mode, because I want it to not only print a little slower speed to give that white a good amount of time to cure and set up as it's laying it down, as well as giving, just in case my platen position is a little off, I have the items going to still be printing at the highest quality possible. So incorporated a pause of 30 seconds in between passes, and then I'm going to go ahead and send that over to print.
So would you say the printable area is 3.5 by 16 on each sleeve?
Roughly, no, not quite. It's more like 3, maybe a hair over 3, not quite 3.5. And lengthwise, I can just even measure here to give you guys a visual. While this is coming over, you don't need to see it process. It's going to take a second here. So I'm going to go ahead and
that rounded end, which
stop the share.
Gives you that.
Yeah, so if I go all the way up to the top, I'm at 17 inches from the top end to the bottom. So keeping in mind, if you're doing something square, you can't go all the way up to the top. So you're probably right about 16.5 inches or 16 inches to right where that arch starts. If you're going to do something where it's more of a handwriting or something of that nature, then you have the ability to go further. And then width-wise, it's showing at 3.5 inches. So, you know, obviously you can't get right up to the edge. Okay.
Okay.
I think it was just the angle with the reflection of the metal. So let's go ahead and send that in to print. So no smoke and mirrors, live printing here.
So we have a question while that's printing. Is it best to always line up the sleeve using the cuff as the reference point or the shoulder?
Well, I do both. So if you want me to go off of here real quick so I can kind of show you. So if we take this design for instance, okay? So on the back side, I have my seam. So I want to make sure it's centered from front to back. So I got that end, and then the other end right here is my seam, and then I have the seam on the top of the shoulder. So I want to sandwich those two to where they line up together from underneath to on top. Kind of like if you're, you know, ironing a pair of Levi's or something with a seam, you got to line those seams up, okay? So I got my top seam lined up with the bottom seam underneath. That way, when I position this right on the side of the shirt, it's going to be perfectly on the side. It's not going to be cocked at an angle or a little off in one direction or skewed. Okay?
Okay. You know, I'd just point out too that if it's your first time using this Platen, you've just purchased it from us, you just got it in. I would get a couple of test shirts and practice and play with this a little bit before you are ready to start printing jobs. I mean, I would recommend that with anything new, but this is definitely something that you would want to try a couple of times before you print on somebody's garment. Hey, Roy, I got another question while that's printing. What's the difference between our new easy sleeve Platen and the tuck lock?
Well, our Platen actually grabs the garment and you're doubling up the layers of fabric, hence the lower profile, versus the tuck lock on the side, you're actually going to wrap the material around the sides of it, okay? So if I were looking at this now, I'm just giving my 30-second pause here. I have to take the fabric and wrap it around. It's not held as well. The other thing is on the tuck lock, because they made it oversized, it's actually 16.5 inches by 14.5 inches. So you got a margin on two sides you can't even print on. You can see here, I'm almost maximizing my print area on this as well as this big square with the Supreme, okay? So I got the whole thing on there. And you can't do that with the tuck lock. You have a much smaller area. So if I'm looking at this, I'm running my print about 3¼ inches on that Supreme square.
Okay, perfect.
Or it's just a hair over 3 inches. So pretty good width on that.
Yeah. I'm going to answer this next question. Does the printer really print with the lid up? No, it doesn't really do that. Roy has tricked it for our webinar so that he can show you inside what's happening. So yeah, he's disabled something to make that work. And then somebody pointed out that this seems like a lot of work, but as it is with all of our webinars, I'd like to point out that when we're in teaching mode and showing mode, we sort of take our time, answer the questions, show you the different things. So once you get into production mode and you're doing these one after another, it's going to go a lot faster for you. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, definitely. It depends on the size of the design and how much white. I mean, I'm pretty much maximizing my print area here. So if it's something like this, obviously it's going to take a little bit more time. That Supreme logo has a lot of white ink on it, and obviously, and then the color laying down, and me adding the pauses, which you want to make sure that you're doing the right thing. But while this is happening, you could be doing other things, pre-treating curing other items, getting things ready. And ultimately, this is something that we've discussed before. When it comes to hoodies, you're making more profit, okay? Don't give your hard work away. That's the other thing that I think is very important, that, sometimes people are out there trying to compete with other people. Well, if they can't do what you're doing, that enables you to charge a premium. So make sure you do that. Now, the one thing I want to do here is go over pre-treating. Okay, well, this is continuing to print for sake of time. So I'm just going to use my speed treater, put a piece of fabric down here, and I'll go ahead and start off with my hoodie. Makes it easier to see something bright. So I'm going to grab this hoodie and I'm going to try to fold it to where I can line up my seam here on both ends, as I mentioned. So the first thing I'm going to do is just kind of hold it here, lay this down, and then I'm going to grab the other end and do the same thing. Fold that out. Okay. And then pull that straight. Okay. And once I do that, then I can grab the other sleeve and do the same thing. And again, when it comes to this, if you had an insert that you wanted to use at this point, this would be the time to do that as well. And just go ahead and leave it inserted the whole process of doing this and doing the pre-treating and curing and everything. Okay. So once I do that, the only time I want to disrupt my fabric at this point is to do it now with lint rolling. Okay. So if I have anything on here I need to get off, I'm going to do that now, because I don't want to disturb the fabric once I pre-treat it and cure it. Okay. And then I got my handheld. We looked at possibly pre-treating these in the speed treater, but there's really no way to compensate for these areas here for overspray, or to try to stick the hoodie underneath. It's just going to create a jam. So ultimately, we're just going to do it by hand. The hand sprayer here, and get a nice lay down of pre-treat, and then over here the same thing. Okay, and that would be it. And then we'll go ahead and let that sit. As far as the sleeves, the same thing would apply on that. Is folding the shirt like this, getting it laid down, and then having that sleeve laid down flat so I can manually pre-treat that as well. Okay, which I've already gone ahead and pre-treated a shirt to show you on that as well. So we got the color going down here now.
So, Roy, when you cut the inserts that you put in those sleeves out of cardboard, how did you come up with the size and the shape? What are the dimensions? Are you just guessing?
Basically, I just set these over. I mean, it was very archaic, I guess you could say.
Hi, Jay.
Set them. Yeah, there you go. There's Jay right there. So I basically just set up the sleeve over a piece of cardboard and drew a mark and then cut about a 1/2 inch on the inside of that mark. That's all I did.
Very scientific.
So basically, I think ultimately what we can do is provide something that we can offer as an option to ship those out with the Platen. Like I said, we'll get with our office and see if we can do that. And then maybe even make some small ones for the short sleeve. So basically, this is the end result of that print.
Those look great.
Okay, there's that one. And nice solid coverage there on the red and the white. Okay. So the only thing with these is, obviously I want to grab both of the sleeves and pull the shirt out at one time. And you can go ahead and let this sit to the side for a minute while we set up for the short sleeve.
So while you're doing that, Roy, somebody asked about the sprayer, that handheld sprayer. I know you've mentioned that before in other webinars, but for those who are new here, maybe you can just explain what you use there.
Okay. Sorry about that. Moving this camera all over the place here. All right, so the sprayer here is a Febreze bottle, Febreze 1, or what they call a pressurized spray bottle. Has a little pressurized valve in there. This particular style of bottle you can buy online, $7-8, eBay, Amazon. The thing is, if you buy it from the store, Febreze, they're like $4.94 with the Febreze in them. So it's cheaper to buy it with the liquid than buy them empty, and you can pick up the bottles anywhere. Now, Febreze doesn't sell this specific style bottle. It's more of a rounded bottle now. Just make sure that you see the bowling pin type top with that. The bottle comes apart, and you can see that pressurized. And when you start pumping it, it creates pressure and gets an even spray going coming out of it. So you have a constant spray as you're moving it around. And it's not overbearing either. Also, I think Mr. Clean makes one also with one of their products in it. Same pressurized bottle for $4.94 as well. So see them at Walmart. Just go down the I guess the scented and the cleaning aisles, and you'll find a bottle. Okay.
All right.
So again, this short sleeve was already pre-treated and pressed. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and mount this. So what I went ahead and did is I marked my Platen. Okay. So when I'm putting my shirt, I want to see the position of where it's going to be on here. So I went ahead and did every 1/2 inch. I did a little tick mark with a magic marker. So I got 4 inches up, which is about standard where my short sleeve is going to be. So I'm going to situate this, and I'm going to put right here at the edge of my seam is going to be my 4-inch mark. Okay, and I'm going to center that. And then to hold the shirt, I'm going to just push down on this clamp and then shove the fabric underneath, and then that keeps the shirt from moving. Okay. Then I can go ahead and use my, kind of just drop this down lightly, and then kind of straighten out my fabric there. Okay, and clamp that down. Then I can do my other side, same process, centering it. Got my 4-inch mark. Okay.
And Roy, when you're putting those on, how careful do you need to be to not stretch them?
This is not really pulling on the t-shirt at all. If the clamp weren't holding it, it would be skewing from the weight of the shirt. So now I'm going to tuck my shirt up underneath here. Now on this, I've already done some platen tests back and forth, and I'm going to be at a half. So it's P, half, 1, 1.5, all the way down to 8. I'm going to be at half to 1, depending on the thickness of the shirt. So now moving my platen all the way up to half. Okay, I'm going to do a platen check. See where I'm at. Got a platen height there. Completely laid down flat here, just making sure. I'm going to go ahead and move it down to 1. Another check.
Somebody asked Roy why you ran the sweatshirt sleeves the other direction, why you loaded them facing the other direction.
Because my sleeve end is here at the straight edge. My shoulder end is over here at the round edge. So if you were printing on a smaller sweatshirt, like a youth size, that would coincide with, you know, the size and the shape of a sweatshirt. When you're doing these short sleeves, I need a straight edge here when I put my sleeve up. So I can't work off, plus I need the ability to hold that shirt to keep it from falling off in the same process, if that makes sense.
It does, totally. You have that clamp there that holds the shirt while you're loading it.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and, so everything's good to go now on my printing. And, all right, so I'm going to go back to Garment Creator, share my screen with you on that. So on this one, still got the same platen template. Now, being that I have a different design, I'm going to open up a new file. Now, this one was set because of this specific design having black in it, which I can zoom in here. I'm going to print this as a used garment black to get rid of that black box. Okay. So I can go ahead and zoom out. The settings on this, being that it's a t-shirt, I'm just going with a standard level 5, putting a little bit more white ink down. Again, when you're in levels 1 through 5, the first thing it does is redistribute your white. And then the second thing after that is it starts adding a little bit more to fill in. So we're going to go ahead and send that over to print. And then we'll get back over to the printer. You're muted, Jeff.
Thanks. Sorry about that. So my question was, when you were a Garment Creator, you didn't need to rotate 180 degrees because you're printing from a different, because you loaded
Yes,
the shirt
that's correct. I rotated the other images one way, and then on this one, because the shirt is facing there, I left the images the same way as if I printed a t-shirt.
Gotcha.
Okay. And I think, let's see here, what happened. Oh. A little bit bigger, or my computer's running slow today. One of the two. It's coming over. So there it is. So this is going to be just a single white path and then a color path and a much shorter distance as well. So this one's going to print a lot faster.
Now, when you go to heat press the long sleeves, Roy, will you put the inserts back in or heat press without the inserts?
It really wouldn't matter at that point, but if you're going with something stiffer than the cardboard, which I would recommend, the cardboard was just a fix for us today. Surprising enough, this Platen was such a hit. I barely got mine 2 weeks ago, hence why the Platen templates weren't out until 2 weeks ago. So anyway, we've been shipping them out as quick as we're getting them. So in answer to that question, that's when we kind of came up with this idea. So here we're doing a quick pause, and it's going to go back in and get the rest of the ink. Hopefully that answers the question. Either or, I would probably use the inserts, especially if it's like the wood phenolic type. And if you're going to, go through the trouble to make something, I would probably put a handle on it, even maybe like a small little handle or something, or a hole at the end or something to make it easy to grab and push in and out of the sweatshirt.
Gotcha.
And then on these right here, I just used a small piece of rubber to put on the sleeves of the t-shirt.
Was that the
neoprene
from a mouse pad?
Mouse pad material. Those always come in handy when it comes to different things, when you're using garment creator, or if you're printing on a pocket, or there's something in the way, a button or something of that nature, and you need to raise an area, you want to do something unique, obviously.
Well, while that's printing, I'll answer this question about Platens being in stock. So we are currently, I believe, waiting on a new shipment of these. So we have somebody who makes these specifically for us. And right now, I think we are back ordered a few of these, and we're expecting a shipment, I think, within the next 10 days. I'm not exactly sure. I'd have to check with the office on that, but they make them, they come in, they go out. So they're always coming. It's not like they're out of stock for very long if they are.
Yeah, they've definitely been probably one of the hottest things in the market for DTG printing right now, because as someone had asked before, the major difference between the tuck lock and this one is you don't have the ability to utilize the entire Platen on the tuck lock because of the way it was manufactured. They actually ended up cutting off some of the print area. So basically, here's the two sleeves. The other thing is on handling, nice little thing to have around too would be a heat gun if you wanted to give it a quick flash dry before you actually go to the heat press, to where you're not going to be offsetting or have to really worry about the ink too much. You can do that by just kind of hitting a little bit with the heat gun here.
Just to be clear, Roy, you're drying it a little bit with that heat gun, because when you pick it up, if the ink were to touch another part of the shirt, you'd transfer some.
Yeah, that way I can actually touch it without smearing the ink, and then I can handle it. If it kind of gets folded over a little bit, it's not going to create a quality issue or smudge the ink at all. Okay, which will give me the ability to kind of handle it like this versus really being careful with it, and I don't have to worry about that ink offsetting.
So
okay.
while that's heat pressing, I got a question here about can we make a platen for tags? So a lot of people like to print their own tags on the inside back collar, and we are actually in design and production of that right now. We're working on that, so that's something we have that you should see soon. Um, Dean mentioned here about using a tunnel dryer. He says, "I've been using a tunnel dryer. When I use the heat press, it looks like it lifts the ink." That I don't quite understand. Lifting the ink, do you, Roy?
Yeah. Well, basically, it depends on what you're using as far as curing. If you're using a Teflon sheet, there's a lot of moisture that gets trapped in there with the ink. It does cause anomalies with the print. When you over cure it, when you're doing that, you're actually going to create some shininess to the look of the print. The other thing is people will use craft paper, or there's someone out there that says, oh, we got this silicone wax craft paper and you can use it 100 times. Well, what I'm finding is that there's people out there after about 10 times or so of usage, because the ink is going to gas. The pre-treat is going to gas. So you get all these chemicals start building up in the sheet, and then that starts causing quality issues. So ultimately, if you're using parchment paper, silicone infused, which is the one that we recommend, you're going to get the best quality print. And if you're curing properly, you're not going to have that stick to the ink pulling anything up. Sometimes too is when you're curing, there could be too much moisture in that ink causing that. So again, tunnel dryer speeds up production. We sell them, we recommend them if you got high production. And yes, at this point, this would be a great way for me to cure this stuff versus trying to individually deal with it. Now, also on the hand of pre-treat, I could cure my pre-treat through the tunnel dryer and not have to really worry about doing the issue with here. It's the way I'd lay my shirt down on the conveyor. I would just fold my two sleeves facing upwards, so I'm going to get those both cured properly going through there. And then I could just do a quick light press with the heat press to kind of flatten the shirt out at low pressure. That way I get a nice smooth print. Okay. So, and again, I didn't use it on this one. You can slightly see a line where I was, but it didn't affect the print whatsoever. So I know on the darker ones, it would be something that you could visually see.
Yeah, I was going to point out, I think the color of the garment might have something to do with that. So there's some questions here about, there's some questions here about how their colors turn out after heat pressing. And we've done other webinars on that. If you have individual questions about your personal results, I would just recommend that you fill out a tech form on our tech support page, and then we can contact you and kind of go over exactly what you're doing, what garment you're using, how you're pre-treating it, how much ink you're putting down, how you're heat pressing it. So there's a lot of things to diagnose there. And then Jay just mentioned could be too much pressure. So Roy, that's fantastic. I really appreciate it. I just love seeing this process. Do you have anything else to add before we wrap it up?
No, that would be it, unless anybody wants to see anything else specific. But that would definitely be concluding anything having to do with our new Platen, which is great. The amount of size of an image you can put on here is good, and the ability to go from short sleeve to long sleeve is another positive.
One quick question here, and I'll just point out too before I ask you this, that this Platen works on on all three of the Epson direct-to-garment printers. It works on the F2000, the F2100, and the new F3070. But somebody asked the question, Roy, does the F2000 have the setting 5? That, I guess that's for creator.
The F2000 have the setting 5. No, actually, the setting 5 would be the same as setting 1, okay? There's only 2 settings on the 2000. So basically you have your 1 is the same as level 4 actually. Level 5 gives a highlight white. So those of you that have a 2000, that was the major difference between the 2000 and the 2100 is being able to hit the white area the second time while it's printing the color path. So the highlight white is not a feature of the 2000. So if you're looking at Garment Creator for 2100, level 4, which takes away the highlight white, is the exact same setting as level 1 on a 2000. Level 6 on a 2000, on a 2100 is the same exact setting as a level 2 on a 2000. Okay, so instead of having 5 levels on the 2000, you only have the 2, which is a level 4 and level 6.
Okay.
Okay, and that's for dart guns.
Great. Somebody asked if we're offering a discount on the sleeve Platen. I don't have one right now. I have posed that question to the big guy. We'll see if he responds. If not, we can talk about that separately when you call in to make your purchase. I don't have any more questions for you, Roy. You did a fantastic job. Thank you. On the screen right now, you can see that we have our private Facebook group, the Epson F2100 DTG users group. We highly encourage you to join this. This is a great spot to ask questions, look at what other people are doing, and just join a community of people who are doing the same thing you're doing, so that you can reach out and connect. And then here is the Easy Ultimate Platens page that's on our website. You can go to the online store to make that purchase, or you can call your favorite sales rep, Jeff Morgenthaler. And
I'd like to add something to that, Jeff, too, if you want to.
Sure, go ahead.
Do you want to go to that real quick? You want to do that? Talk about the difference between our Platen and the Epson Platen. Yeah. So if you want to bring me back up.
Yep.
All right. So basically, I want to go over the difference between our Platen when it comes to our standard Platens and the Epson Platen. Okay. On the 2100 or the 2000, you have your standard Platen. The difference between the 2100 gives you the mat for free. On the 2000, you can still purchase the mat. So when you're loading a shirt, there's definitely an issue of production. So if I'm using the mat, I don't have to use the frame, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and bring this at an angle real quick, just so you can kind of see what we're doing here. So if I'm loading this shirt real quick, I can go ahead and put that down and then flatten it out like this, okay, and hit print using a mat. If I'm using the frame, which is the standard for the Epson, okay, and if you don't have the mat, you need to use the frame. What happens is when you flatten the fabric out, you tend to have a buildup or a little raised curve around the outer perimeter. What happens is customers will pull this down to get that kind of pulled in to where you don't have that, okay? In that process, sometimes you're going to overstretch the garment and skew it a little bit. So what happens, sometimes you end up with a little white line around one or two edges of your print. And a lot of people will sit and look and go, oh, I got to go adjust my reduced white area and bring it from a 2 to a 3 or whatever to compensate from that, which is not correct. Because when you're actually distorting the garment or the material, what happens when the white goes down, it moistens that fabric and it actually starts to spread a little bit, creating those lines. I've only used reduced white area over almost 4 years, maybe 3 or 4 times in all the designs I've ever printed, because what happens is at this point, you want to pull the frame up off of the fabric to allow the frame to relax and kind of go back, okay? So when you're using our Platen, because of the fact you have the rubber frame, okay? So when I'm loading a shirt on here, okay, basically, this is, I don't have the 1416, sorry about that. But I'm going to throw my shirt up here. And instead of doing what you would do with the Epson, is I take my frame, and this frame just has a little bit of pull on the fabric when you're pushing it down. Not so much to where I'm yanking on it and kind of distorting it unevenly. It gives it a nice even pull, and then I can go ahead and hit print. So the load time on our Platens is a lot faster, especially if you're not using the mat, okay? So at this point, and then plus, since the fabric's not distorted, I'm not gonna have any registration issues with that white line kind of showing on one side or the other. All right?
All right.
Anyway, thanks for letting me
Perfect.
cover that.
All right. Thank you, Roy. Thank you, everybody, for attending. We appreciate it. Yes, Paul, this will be recorded and posted. We have on our website a section for all of our previously recorded webinars. We also have a great YouTube page with a lot of how-to videos and our recorded webinars. So I am Jeff Morgenthaler. That's Roy Hughesman.
And I'm Roy Hughesman.
Thanks
and we
for
got Jay
attending.
in the background here.
There's our key contact information. You can take a screenshot or write that down. And we'll look forward to seeing you at the next webinar. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.